Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam to all the Vaishnavas listening to me. So today is the day 2 of the recitation of Sri Bhakti Vinoda Vani Vaibhav, and today we'll continue listening to a glimpse into the life of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur from where we left in the previous session. But in the previous session, the last few minutes were not audible, so I will be covering that today as well. So before starting, let us offer our prayers into the lotus feet of Srila Gurudev and our previous acharyas. Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत श्री राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तद्कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So let's start where it is quoted. On my first reading of Chaitanya Charitamrita, I developed some faith in Sri Chaitanya. On second reading, I understood that there was no Pandit equal to Sri Chaitanya. Then I had a doubt. Being such a learned scholar and having manifested the reality of love of Godhead to such an extent, how is it that he recommends the worship of the improper character of Krishna? I was initially amazed at this, and I thought about it deeply. Afterwards, I prayed to the Lord with great humility. O Lord, please let me understand the mystery of this matter. The mercy of God is without limit. Seeing my eagerness and humbleness, within a few days, He bestowed His mercy upon me and supplied the intelligence by which I could understand. I then understood that the truth of Krishna is very deep and confidential, and the highest principle of the science of Godhead. From this time on, I knew God as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I made an effort to always speak with renounced Vaishnava Pandits, and I came to understand many aspects of the Vaishnava Dharma. In my very childhood, the seed of faith in the Vaishnava religion was planted in my heart, and now it has sprouted. From the beginning, I experienced Anuraga, and it was very wonderful. Day and night, I liked to read about Krishna Tattva. Shortly thereafter, out of ecstatic feeling for Lord Chaitanya, Bhakti Vinoda wrote a short poem called Satchid Anand Prema Alankara. From the time he became known as Satchit Ananda, one who embodies eternity, knowledge and bliss. Here we see Lord Chaitanya reawakening the feeling of devotion in Srila Bhakti Vinoda. They had been kept hidden to allow the Thakura to establish himself within the British Raj. At this time, his spiritual mission began to manifest. Like Arjuna, it was for the benefit of all that came after him. In 1869, he gave a lecture in Dinajpur to many learned gentlemen of his religion and culture, who had come from all over India. Some interested Englishmen also attended. This speech later took the form of a book, the Bhagavad, its philosophy, its ethics, and its theology. In this talk, he criticized the sectarianism that characterizes the religious strife between men. He also recounted his own history as a sectarian, thinking who ignored the beauty of Bhagavatam due to his early prejudices imbibed from the English. He presented himself as a sectarian thinker who had his eyes opened by Sri Chaitanya. He glorified the Bhagavatam, and finally he explained the mysterious nature of Krishna's dalliances with the gopis and enlightening the audience with its profound universal meaning. What better person could Lord Chaitanya choose to preach to the intelligentsia of his day than the Thakura? He was fully conversant with the burning issue of the times, well studied in the major philosophies and religions of the world, and was a highly respectable figure in both Hindu and English circles. His opinions were seriously heard by both camps. In 1871, he moved to Puri and took up the study of Goswami's literature while serving there as chief magistrate. Inspired by the holy Dham, he composed 2 English poems, the first on Srila Haridas Thakur's Samadhi contains one of his most famous verses. He reasons ill who tells the Vaishnavas die. When thou art living still in sound, the Vaishnavas die to live and living try to spread holy name around. The Thakura's heart was overflowing with deep spiritual emotions as he visited the holy sites of Mahaprabhu's pastimes. In his second poem, Saragrahi Vaishnava, verse 22, he described the futility of material aspirations for sense pleasures and the soul's journey to the eternal spiritual realm. There rests my soul from the matter free. Upon my lover's arms, eternal peace and spirit's love are all my chanting charms. The same year, he wrote an essay, To Love God, wherein he gave a deep purport to the commandment of Jesus Christ. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, with all thy soul, and with all thy strength, and love thy neighbor as thyself. He compared this commandment to the teachings of Vaishnavism, demonstrating how Sri Chaitanya further broadcasts the teachings of Jesus Christ. Within the first year of the Thakura's stay in Puri, the British asked him to watch over the affairs of Jagannath Temple on behalf of the government. Due to his untiring work, many bad practices at the temple were curbed, and the offerings to the Lord were punctual. As the magistrate for Puri, he arrested a scoundrel yogi called Bisaksin, who possessed mystic powers and proclaimed himself the incarnation of Mahavishnu. Fearing his mystic powers, the foolish people of the locality had succumbed to him. The people of nearby village were outraged by the yogi's affairs with married women and were anxious that this fever might spread to the women of their own villages, resulting in scandal and humiliation. Bhaktivinoda apprehended the yogi and held him in jail for trial. Fasting from food and drink, the yogi increased his mystic potency to inflict hardship on the Thakura's family. All over Puri there were disturbances. At that time, the Puri school had a fire, and all the people were suspected him. Also at this time, Kadur, a pet name for Thakura's daughter Kadambini, came down with fever. Bisaki Sen, by his practice of yoga, had by some means attained yogic powers, and I obtained a lot of evidence against him. For 21 days He did not eat or drink even a drop of water. But he did not show any weakness and gave unfailing curses to many people. At last, he was brought to trial and sentenced. Thousands of yogis' followers were outside the courtroom chanting injustice. A young British officer who had been reading about mystic powers rushed up behind the yogi as he was being taken from the courtroom and cut off his matted locks with a huge pair of scissors. The yogi immediately fell down on the floor, unable to walk. When his followers saw that he had been overcome simply by having his hair removed, they deserted him. The Thakur continued to prosecute other self-proclaimed incarnations and thwarted their attempts to exploit the innocent public. During this period, Srila Bhaktivinoda carefully studied the 12 cantos of Bhagavatam and began writing Krishna Samhita, one of his most famous works. In great happiness, he toured the holy places of Puri and constantly associated himself with most elevated Vaishnavas in the area. While in Puri, I made much advancement in the devotional service. I became more detached from the worldly life. The idea that worldly progress produces anything of lasting value was gone forever. Almost every evening, I would go to the temple to see the Lord, to hear and chant the holy name and associate with the devotees. Just as the Jagannath temple is very lofty and beautiful, so also the service to the deity was wonderful. To see it was charming to the mind. Daily from 5 to 700 people were present to see the routine festivals like the evening aarti, etc. What bliss! Many kinds of pilgrims came from all over India to attend the religious festivals, seeing that one's eyes are soothed. On a Friday afternoon, 6th February 1874, at Jagannath Puri, Srimati Bhagavati Devi and Thakur Bhaktivinoda were delighted with the appearance of a son. He was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck, resembling the sacred thread. Everyone was astonished. They took it as an auspicious sign. As Sri Bimla Devi represents the Parashakti, spiritual energy of Lord Jagannatha, he was given the name Bimla Prasada. Srila Bhakti Vinod had prayed for a ray of Vishnu to help him with his preaching, and his son Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada would fulfill that mission. 6 months later in July, the annual Rath Yatra festival was in progress. Inexplicably, the 3 chariots stopped at the gate in front of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's residence and remained there for 3 days. Mother Bhagavati Devi took advantage of the situation to benefit her 6-month-old son. She was allowed to ascend the chariot since her husband was the manager of the Puri temple. As she approached Lord Jagannatha, the baby extended his arms to touch the feet of Lord Jagannath Deva and was blessed with a garland from the Lord. His Annaprasanna, first feeding of rice, was celebrated with the Mahaprasada of Lord Jagannath on the chariot. In the temple, Bhaktivinoda Thakur began regular lectures on Srimad Bhagavatam. Due to his association, many Mayavadi Brahmins became devout Vaishnavas. One day, the king of Puri burst noisily into the temple, disturbing the Thakura's discourses. Unable to tolerate this disrespectful behavior, the Thakura voice was displeasure. You have the right to hold the position of kingship over your small kingdom, but the Supreme Lord, Jagannatha Purushottama, is the king of all kings. Therefore, it is mandatory that you show respect to his Bhakti Mandap, where his glories are daily sung. The king immediately realized his offense. bowed before the assembled Vaishnavas, begging for their forgiveness. Later that year, the king misappropriated 80,000 rupees from the Jagannath temple. Subsequently, Bhaktivinoda punished the king by obliging him to make 52 offerings daily to the Lord Jagannath. Seeing his treasury depleting rapidly, the king sought revenge and made an attempt on the Thakura's life. A secret yajna was performed within his confines of the palace, with 50 Brahmins chanting mantras in order to kill Thakur with mystic power. At the end of 30-day yajna, when the Thakur was supposed to die, the king's only son died. The king and other persons connected with the temple used to commit many illegal acts. I would go there to prevent all such things, and thus I made enemy of the king and the king's men. Because I was helped by Lord Jagannath, no one was able to harm me in any way. After 5 years of service in Puri, Thakur Bhaktivinoda was posted at different locations in Bengal and finally settled in Narail in August 1878. While residing in 1880, he published his Krishna Samhita. Immediately he received high acclaim for his work. The following year, he published Kalyan Kalpataru, a collection of songs describing the various stages of spiritual life, from the earliest to the highest stage of Prema Bhakti. It was also highly acclaimed and was accepted as an immortal work equal to the songs of Narottam Das Thakur. In Narail, he also started to publish the monthly Vaishnava journal, Sajjan Tosani. Its aim was to educate the influential and learned people about divine mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Thakur now felt a great need to accept Vaishnava initiation. I had been searching for a suitable guru for a long time, but I did not obtain one. I was very unhappy. I was feeling very anxious, and in a dream, Mahaprabhu diminished my unhappiness. In that dream, I received a little hint. That very day, I became happy. 1 or 2 days later, Gurudeva wrote a letter to me saying, I will soon come and give you Diksha. Subsequently, he received Bipin Bihari Goswami as his guest and became his disciple. In his commentary to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, written 14 years later, he concluded with this prayer: the eminent Bipin Bihari Prabhu, who is the manifestation of the transcendental energy of Lord Hari, who sports in the forest of Vraja, has descended in the form of spiritual preceptor. Seeing me in the dark well of worldly existence, he has delivered this humble servant of his. Towards the end of 1881, the Thakur again desired to visit Vrindavana. After an absence of 15 years, he set out with his wife, his youngest son, and 2 servants. Upon arrival, he came down with fever and prayed to Lord to relieve him for the duration of his pilgrimage. The illness disappeared. While in Vrindavana, he met Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, an exalted Vaishnava coming in disciplic succession from Baldeva Vidyabhushan. Babaji Maharaj was a constant source of inspiration and guidance for the Thakura, who became increasingly absorbed in the mission of Lord Chaitanya. Upon his return, he was transferred to Jessore, where he suffered from a heavy fever in accordance with his prayer in Vrindavana. Receiving medical leave, he returned to Calcutta, purchased a house, the Bhakti Bhavan, and held many meetings there to discuss spiritual topics. He expressed his realizations in an article printed in the Sajjana Tosani. Lord Chaitanya did not advent himself to liberate only a few men of India. Rather, his main objective was to emancipate all living entities of all countries throughout the entire universe and preach the eternal religion. Lord Chaitanya says in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, "In every town, country and village, my name will be sung." There is no doubt that this questionable order will come to pass. Very soon the unparalleled path of Harinam Sankirtan will be propagated all over the world. Oh, for that day when the fortunate English, French, Russian, German and American people will take up banners, drums and cymbals amid raised arms and perform congregational kirtan throughout their streets and towns. When will that day come? Oh, for that day when the fair-skinned men from their side will raise up the chanting of Jai Sachidanand Ki Jai and join with the Bengali devotees. The article was a powerful prayer to bring the people of the world together under the banner of the holy name. Next, he made a bold prophecy. A personality will soon appear to preach the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and move unrestrictedly over the whole world with his message. As Advaita Acharya invoked the descent of Lord Chaitanya through his prayer, so Thakur Bhaktivinoda invoked the descent of the person who would fulfill the ancient prophecy. In 1887, at the age of 49, he discovered Sri Chaitanya Upanishad, which could only be found in very old manuscripts of the Atharva Veda. He wrote a Sanskrit commentary on the work. In 1886 and 1887, he produced 10 books and was awarded with the title Bhaktivinoda for his outstanding work of preaching and writing. He became known as Sachidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur. At this point in his life, he considered retiring from the government duties to concentrate on his bhajana. One night, Lord Chaitanya appeared to him in a dream. "You will certainly go to Vrindavan. But first, there is some service you must perform in Navadvipa. What will you do about that?" He requested a transfer to Navadvip, and on 15 November 1887, his transfer to nearby Krishnanagar was granted. He was jubilant on receiving the news, but experienced high fevers at that time. "How shall I speak of my misfortune? Returning home in joy, I became anxious because a horrible fever came on. It did not subside. Collector Tonby arrived and expressed a desire to postpone my substitution. But then I thought, I will live or I'll die, but I will go to Krishnanagar." Every Saturday he went to Navadvip to search out the holy name, the holy birth site of Lord Chaitanya. Most of the locals had no interest in the project, and he became a little discouraged. They believed that due to the shifting course of the Ganga, the actual site was lost. Others claimed the site was on the opposite bank of the river. The Thakura was neither satisfied nor convinced by these assertions. He continued his research and discovered that the present town of Navadvip was less than 100 years old. On an old map, he found the town Sri Mayapura on the opposite bank, situated at the same site as the current village of Balal Dighi. Some elderly locals of the village pointed to a mound covered with tulsi, saying that it was the actual place of Lord Chaitanya's birth. One day he found this verse: "In the center of Navadvipa, there is a special place called Mayapura. At this place, the Supreme Lord, Sri Gaurachandra, took his birth." To confirm his discovery, the Thakur requested the elderly Srila Jagannath Das Babaji, who at that time was crippled and carried in basket to come. When he was brought to the side, Babaji Maharaj became overwhelmed with ecstasy, jumped up and exclaimed, "This is indeed the birthplace of Nimai." The discovery led to further research and publication in 1890 of Sri Navadvipa Dhama Mahatmam, describing the holy places of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. The Thakur then established his own place of bhajana, Surbhi Kunj. From there he could look out across the Jalangi river towards Mayapura. One day he had a fantastic vision. He saw a large golden city rising beyond the Ganges at the place of Sri Mayapura. He understood he was getting a glimpse of the fulfillment of Lord Chaitanya's prophecy. In August 1891, Thakur Bhaktivinoda received a 2-year furlough from government service and began preaching from Godrum Dvipa. He called his preaching Namahat, the marketplace of holy name. He travelled with 3 close friends to chant and lecture in many places. Altogether, the Thakur established over 500 Namahat associations, and in this period he also wrote profusely, producing 18 books. We performed Nam Sankirtana everywhere. After coming to my house in Calcutta, I proceeded to Surbhi Kunj, and we performed a great deal of Sankirtana there too. Government services had now become a hindrance to his real work of Sankirtana, preaching the Lord and glories of the holy name. He retired to Surbhi Kunj at the age of 56. Determined to build a temple in Mayapura. He went door to door in Calcutta begging donations. As the foundation for the temple was being dug, a deity of Adhoka Saja Vishnu was found. Referring to the Vaishnava scriptures, the Thakur discovered that this was the family deity worshipped by Jagannath Mishra, Mahaprabhu's father. The archaeological evidence further confirmed the authenticity of the birth site of the Lord. On Gaur Purnima, 21st March 1895, the temple was opened with an enormous installation ceremony and Sankirtana festival. The association was compared to the Kheturi festival, which was organized by Narottam Das Thakur to unite the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur installed deities of Lord Chaitanya and his eternal consort Vishnupriya Devi as thousands of Vaishnavas at the celebration chanted, danced and feasted. The following year, 1896, was one of the momentous moments in Vaishnava history. A small book entitled Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, His Life and Precepts was written in English by the Thakura and was sent to major university libraries around the world. On 1st September of that year, in Calcutta, a son was born to Gaura Mohan De and his wife. Their son, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, was destined to fulfill the Thakur's prediction. With natural humility, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada gave the credit to his Guru Maharaj as follows. Thakur Bhakti Vinod also wanted to beget a son who could preach the philosophy and teachings of Lord Chaitanya to the fullest extent. By his prayers to the Lord, he had as his child Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, who at the present moment is preaching the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya throughout the entire world through his bona fide disciples. The prediction also applied to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but the personality moving unrestrictedly over the whole world with the message of Mahaprabhu was certainly Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Therefore, we can say that both of these great personalities fulfilled Lord Chaitanya's prophecy, because the sincere disciple was never separated from the instructions of his Guru Maharaj. Returning to Puri in 1900, Thakur Bhaktivinoda established a place for his bhajan called Bhakti Kutir, which was near the Samadhi of Srila Haridas Thakur. In the same year, one of his most important books, Sri Harinam Chintamani, was published. In 1908, he gave up his household life and accepted initiation into the Babaji order of life from Gaura Kishora Das Babaji Maharaj, a renowned saint. He put on outer cloth and coffin previously worn by Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, which he had saved since Babaji entered Samadhi. After a brilliant life in which he had single-handedly re-established the Vaishnava Dharma accordingly to the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Thakur Bhaktivinoda retired from the public life and spent his final years in solitude, ecstatically tasting the nectar of pure Krishna Prem. On 23rd June 1914, on the disappearance day of Sri Gadadhara Pandit, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur mourned the passing of his father, Srila Sachidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Immediately, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta began printing the various books that his father had left unpublished, and he also continued to publish Sajjana Tosani. With that, we finish the section of a glimpse into the life of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And now we can start with the first portion of this book, which is the Sambandha part. In the Sambandha part, the first chapter is on the topic of relationship with Lord. This chapter has two questions in it. The first one being, what is the science or knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme Lord? There are three truths regarding one's relationship with the Lord. These are knowledge about the material world, knowledge about the living entities, and knowledge about the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is one without a second, omnipotent, all-attractive, the source of all opulence and sweetness, and the only shelter of the living entities and material nature. Although he is the shelter of the living entities and material nature, he is always fully independent. His bodily effulgence is known as the impersonal Brahman. He created the living entities and the material world by his spiritual potency, and then as Paramatma, a plenary portion, he entered into the universes. In his form of opulence and Aishwarya, he is Lord Narayana in the spiritual sky. In his form of sweetness or Madhurya, he is Sri Krishna Chandra, the beloved Lord of the Gopis in Golok Vrindavan. His manifestations and the pastimes are unlimited. There is nothing greater or equal to him. All his forms and pastimes manifest through his internal spiritual energy. The living entities are aware of the three energies among the many potencies of the Lord. One is his spiritual energy, by which all his pastimes take place. Another is his marginal energy, the living entities by which unlimited living entities are produced and sustained. The other is his external energy, Maya, by which all material objects, time and activities are created. Sambandha Tattva refers to the following relationships: the living entities towards Supreme Lord, the Supreme Lord towards the living entities and the material world, and the material world towards the Supreme Lord and the living entities. If one properly understands Sambandha Tattva, one becomes acquainted with the knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme Lord. Persons who are devoid of knowledge of their relationship with the Supreme Lord can never become pure Vaishnavas. This is stated in Jaiva Dharma chapter 4. The second question is the feeling of I and mine in relationship with the Lord abominable? The feeling of I and mine in connection with one's relationship with the Krishna is not born of material pride. Rather, it is born from one's service attitude, as stated in Yamuna Bhavavali Geetamala. The second chapter is based on Vedic knowledge. First question is, what is Amnaya? Amnaya is Vedic literature consisting of spiritual knowledge received through disciplic succession coming from Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe. Second question is, what are the basic teachings of Sri Chaitanya Deva? Sri Hari is the supreme absolute truth. He is omniscient. He is the nectarian ocean of transcendental mellows. The living entities are his separated parts and parcels. The conditioned souls are controlled by Maya, whereas the liberated souls are free from Maya. Both the spiritual and material worlds are simultaneously one with and different from Sri Hari. Devotional service is the only way to obtain the goal of life, and love of the God is the ultimate goal of life. Third question is, what are the 10 principal teachings? First one is Vedic statements are the only evidence. Second, Lord Hari is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Third, He is omnipotent. Fourth, He is a reservoir of transcendental mellows and His abode is the spiritual sky. Fifth, living entities are unlimited spiritual sparks, parts and parcels of Krishna, and they are two kinds, eternally conditioned and eternally liberated. Sixth, Maya conditions living entities who are averse to Krishna. Seventh, pure devotees of the Lord are free from Maya. Eighth, the living entities and the material world are produced from the Lord's inconceivable potency, and they are simultaneously one with and different from the Lord. Ninth, the 9 types of devotional service to Krishna are the only processes to achieve the goal of life. And 10th, love of Krishna is the ultimate goal of life. Fourth question is the absolute truth one or many? The absolute truth is one without a second. Tattvam ekam eveditityam. Tattvam ekam evedvityam. Fifth question is, where do we find the teachings of Sri Chaitanya? The teachings of Sri Mahaprabhu are properly described in 2 books. The teachings regarding the absolute truth are described in Sri Brahma Samhita, and the teachings regarding bhajana are described in Krishna Karnamrit. Sixth question is, what is the purpose of Vedas? Vedic literature teaches one to engage in pure devotional service according to the nature and qualification of its so-called followers. Vedic literature has recommended various processes such as karma and jnana. Due to the faults of these followers, various opinions have cropped up. Actually, the Vedas are the only evidence and the instructing spiritual masters of the mankind. On account of misinterpretation, various opinions and other than pure devotional service have been preached. Seventh question is, what is transcendental literature? If a blind person guides another person, both of them fall into a ditch. Similarly, the mundane authors and their blind followers are misguided and regrettable. The Vedas and literature in pursuance of the Vedas are to be understood by transcendental literature. Eighth question is, what are the Vedas? It is not that if one gets a book of Vedas from anywhere, it should be accepted everywhere. Whatever the acharyas of the authorized sampradayas have accepted as Vedas, we should accept, and whatever they have rejected as false, we should reject. Ninth question is, what is the difference between the teachings of Sri Chaitanya and the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Panchatantras and Vedas? Pancharatas and Vedas. Bhagavad Gita, known as Gitopanishad, was spoken by the Lord and is therefore Veda. The 10 principal truths taught and spoken by Sri Gauranga are also Vedas. Srimad Bhagavatam, the essence of all Vedic literature, is the crest jewel amongst all the evidence. If the statements of the other revealed scriptures follow the teachings of Vedas, they are also evidence. The Tantras are of 3 types: Sattvika, Rajasika and Tamsika. Since the Sattvic Tantras are such as the Pancharatra preach the confidential purport of the Vedas, they are also the evidence. 10th question and the last question of this chapter is, what is the necessity of a perpetual disciplic succession? No book is without errors. God's revelation is absolute truth, but it is rarely received and preserved in its original purity. Truth has been revealed in its absolute, but over the course of time it becomes tainted by the nature of the receivers. From age to age, it is transformed by the continual change of hands. New revelations, therefore, are continuously necessary to keep the truth in its original purity. With that, we would finish today's session. My sincere obeisances at the lotus feet of Srila Gurudev and the divine couple Sri Sri Radha Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. धन्यवाद.